This is KEXU 96.1 FM LP. This is Pole People's Revolutionary Radio. And this is JV. And this is Free Aztlan. Today we have a special guest, Ernesto Ayala from the La Raza Unida Party. Ernesto, thank you for showing up to Free Aztlan, and welcome to the program.
Of course, brother. Thank you guys for having me. It's an honor.
And just a little background. I remember being in prison, reading about La Raza Unida Party, and I just found it very empowering. The Raza was undergoing community control of the barrios and organizing the people when nobody else would, and I just thought it was beautiful.
Yeah.
So, can you tell the listeners a little bit about La Raza Unida Party?
Definitely. Well, a lot of the history of La Raza Unida, it started. There's no exact date when it started, but late 60s, early 70s, depending what area.
Can you speak directly to the phone, Ernesto, because it's a little difficult to hear you very clearly. Having a little bit of difficulty. Okay, yeah, that's perfect right there.
Okay, so well, as we know, history of La Raza Unida, goes back to the late 60s, early 70s, depending what area you were in, because it started at different barrios throughout Aztlan, different times within the same time period. But basically, it was our people's desire to have some sort of control over our land, have some sort of control over what happens in our barrios, in our colonias, or wherever we're at. And Chicanos at that time, because of the world situation, the situation here inside the President of Nations, in the United States, it pushed a lot of people to ask a lot of questions. And in that period, a lot of Chicanos, of course, as we still know and still understand, but then people have been confused by the system again. But the Republicans, they'll tell you straight up what they think about us. They'll tell you they hate us. I mean, look at Trump. They'll say, the most racist, dumb things. Basically do the same thing, but they'll do it nicer. They'll be more polite about it. So the Raza saw that. I mean, in general, I think a lot of people in the country saw that. So in our case, the Chicanos saw that and said, well, we need to organize a party for ourselves.
Ernesto, one minute. And it's I like how you mentioned the Democrats and the Republicans, because a lot of people are just they're confused and they believe that one party is better than the other, but it's basically two arms of the same body. So this is that body is the oppressor nation. So they never held any of our interests in mind since they first stepped foot on this continent. But go ahead, finish what you were saying.
Yeah, well, I mean, we started organizing our own party, and at that point, there was no really central ideology. There was a lot of community service type of stuff. Depending on what area you were, again, depending what you had an ideology or what was the main line in that area. Like for example, here in California, Bay Area, LA, there was a little bit more understanding of our experience here as a colonization, et cetera, et cetera. But a lot of stuff, is I think the Raza Unida is that history of La Raza Unida is very well hidden. It's something that, I mean, in general, Chicano history, is very well hidden. But I think, the fact that our people have attempted for the past, going on 50 years to organize a party, a political party, um, with our interests at the head, I think that's something very significant, that shows the maturity of a national group, the maturity of a colonized or oppressed class of people. Um, so, I think it would be very powerful that people knew more about La Raza and knew more that, like all other, colonized peoples, our African brothers and sisters, whether here or across the world, our Asian brothers and sisters, the rest of the Raza, indigenous people, that we have also gone through this process of attempting to organize revolutionary parties or independent parties, to fight for our interests. I think that's something very important. So, again, going back on track, uh, a lot of the stuff we did back then, wasn't very directed under an ideology. It was a lot of, again, community stuff, or, let's do this for the raza, so a lot of stuff, again, depending on where you're at, some people, um, for example, there was two main lines that finally is what, the outcome of this was what, decided what the Raza Unida was going to be about. But there was two main lines, one, which
Why is
was
that?
Gutierrez, who had a more reformist line. He believed, that the president could serve as some sort of power broker, for marketing to the two political parties. That all we had to do was register to vote. Then there was the other line which was carried more by Corky, because Corky was a leader of the partido, even though he recognized crusade for justice. They were transforming that into the partido. Um, and he, was more, well, he was a revolutionary nationalist, and he understood, our struggle as that of colonized people. That, under this system, under capitalism, you can't reform capitalism. You can do small reform, but it's not, gonna, give us the power that we need as a people, and the control that we need over our community as a colonized nation or working class people. So, there was that line, and that's the line that eventually won. And that's the line the Partido has been following as a Chicano, Raza, indigenous, revolutionary, nationalist organization. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I just I really believe that for one, there's no way we can make any kind of strides in this under U.S. society unless oppressed people are organized. So it's very important that the oppressed nations are organized, and whether we're talking about the Chicano nation, whether we're talking about New Africa, whether we're talking about the First Nations, or any other nations, oppressed nations, people that are within these borders. So I really agree with that. Organizing in the neighborhoods and the barrios, and taking community control, because we don't have to ask permission to take community control within our neighborhoods. Just like we don't have to take we don't have to get permission to build schools. So some people go through getting certificates and getting approvals and this and that, or some people just create schools in their homes, and then in other buildings and facilities. I know Poor Magazine does it. In San Jose, the Barrio Defense Committee is also starting to do it with the Tiburcio Vasquez Liberation School. So, we don't have to ask permission to organize our people. And I think that's a beautiful thing what you guys are doing.
Thank you, brother. And I think that that goes back to how you were mentioning the two parties. La Raza Unida, is a part of the people, and And the what we struggle for is the interest of our people, the colonized working class Chicano, Mexicano, raza, whether you're documented or not, whether you're from the barrio or from the camp or res, because we're the same people,
Mm-hmm.
that's what our interest is, so those interests that in the streets, that
Right.
struggle, is the for example, back to the Democrats and Republicans, they represent basically the same ruling class, the
Mm,
same colonizing class, and
mm,
just two different aspects. One, whether you're gonna um, you're just gonna believe that you're God's given, you know, nation from Super Signing Chi, or you're gonna believe the same thing, but you're gonna be a lot nicer about it. You're gonna pat us on the back, and eventually, stick that knife back there. And a lot of this is the one of the battles we need to fight. In raising our people's consciousness, because a lot of people right now, they're saying, well, it was better under Obama, it was better under a Democrat, a Democrat, but let's remember, Obama might have been a charismatic, nice sounding guy, you know, um,
mm.
but he deported, more people,
Yeah, over two
more
million
raza.
people, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
over
Yep.
over 2 million people. But I wanted to ask you real fast. I know that you're on top of it. You've been studying real deeply on within the contradictions within the Chicano nation. I'm curious to ask you, what in your words, what do you think is the principal contradiction for Aztlan today?
Well, I would believe, and I'm still, working on studying a lot of this stuff, but like any other colonized nation, the fact that that you have, the Chicano nation is still somewhat in gestation. There's still a lot of things that are being defined. A lot of new things have happened since the late '60s and '70s. That have added to our experience. Um, but there's still that contradiction of, we're not we're not exactly, a Mexicano, and but America never has accepted us as who we are. Um, and that leaves a lot of our identity, and it leaves, this whole mass of human beings who've been growing and growing and growing, over the decades, you know, like chickens without head. We are a developing nation. We have our own experience here in the United States, you know, as a colonized people, but we there's really no understanding or grasp enough of that. I believe, I think, a lot of things that happened in the late '70s and '80s, changed this the course of a lot of things. Added,
And I think,
to a lot
yeah.
of our
No, I
experience.
agree with you. I believe that probably U.S. imperialism is probably behind most of them changes and obstacles
Oh
that
yeah,
allow us to be free and liberated as a nation. But I'm gonna have to wrap it up. But I real quickly I wanted to ask how La Raza Unida Party handles horizontal crime within the Chicano nation. That's basically
yeah,
brown on brown violence.
yeah,
What kind of programs are you guys? And we have to wrap this up, but I'm real curious about that.
yeah. Definitely. We have, we're gonna be starting our youth committee here locally, at least. It's been going in Albuquerque. They've been going at it as well. We're also from the past 2 years, we started our Raza Unida youth conferences,
Mm,
which we hadn't done in about 10 years, maybe a little more before that.
mm,
And a lot of, we again, what we try to do is we try to recruit, from the barrios and the schools themselves, all of our youth, not just, like you go to other mainstream Latino youth events, and they just cherry pick the ones that they want. We try, we work, we live in the barrio. We're here in
mm,
the barrio, and and we're out there talking to the people. We're out there talking to the youth. We had a rally 2 years ago. We were able to engage a lot of youth. This was during Dia de los Muertos. We were able to use a cultural event,
Mm.
to highlight a lot of these issues because a young man, a very young 12-year-old Chicanito, was um, shot right here down the street from a house. So we were able to use, this cultural event that's, starting to gain steam. A lot of, raza, a lot of people now are recognizing it here in Aztlan, and even more, a lot of stuff like that, grassroots, be out there with the raza, be out there, with the youngsters, from the barrios, talking to them, and struggling to raise people's consciousness and ourselves, bro, with the people.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, because we got to learn from the people, and then we
Exactly.
got to, we teach, but we also learn from the people because they're teachers too. But and you're located in down in the IE or San Fernando Valley, right?
Yeah, San Fernando Valley,
Okay.
in Pacoima, and it's part of LA.
Okay, and how can some of the listeners get involved if they want to participate in some of the projects and what's going on with La Raza Unida Party? How could they contact you?
Definitely, the best way probably is through our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/La Raza Unida Party. You could also go to our regular website, razaunidaparty.org.
Man, you hear this bullshit they be talking every day, man. It's like these motherfuckers is just like professional liars. You know what I'm saying? It's wild.
And what was that, Ernesto?
And the last one is razaunidaparty.org.
Wait, we lost him. One more time. Ask him.
And send us a message. We'd be more than glad to have one of our organizers talk to you.
Okay, Ernesto, we lost that whole. So one more time for the listeners, if somebody wanted to get involved, how can they contact you or La Raza Unida Party?
Yes, on our Facebook page is probably the best. Facebook.com/La Raza Unida Party, or our website, razaunidaparty.org. That's the best ways, to send us a message there, and we'd be more than glad to reach out to you.
Okay, well, thank you once again, compañero, for joining us today, and it's beautiful to hear and see what you all are doing on that side of Aztlan, and and we're all pushing in the same direction, and it's a beautiful thing, and I look forward to having you once again on Free Aztlan, and thank you once more, and this is going to wrap up today's show. This is KEXU 96.1 FMLP, and this is JV, and this is Free Aztlan.
Free Aztlan. Thank you, brothers and sisters.
Let me get a photo,
Thank you, brother.
Are you ready?